Well, good morning, family. Ooh, had an itch by my ear. Good morning to you. Welcome back. Today, we're just going to jump into it. I know this is kind of breaking my norm, but we're going to jump into the 5 facts and the 5 reasons why, what you can do to improve your PC. Now, we're just going to go through this. It's not going to be a long one, so do expect that. But, you know, when it comes to your PC, there's many things you can do. One, if you want to modify it or whatever else, you look at what kind of case you have. Okay. So you look at your case, you look at your motherboard that you got in there, you look at your processor, you look at your RAM, you look at your graphics card. Okay, so you got motherboard, you got RAM, you got processor, that's 3. You got graphics card, that's 4, right? And you look at your SSD drive or hard drive, that's 5. So you look at those 5 things and you say to yourself, what can I improve to make it better? Okay, let's say your graphics card isn't really what's going to get you going. So you want to change your graphics card. So you say to yourself, okay, well, what do I need to change on my graphics card to make it better? Well, first you look at the processor and motherboard to see what you have on hand. Okay, let's say you got a B550 motherboard. Just throwing it out there. Say you got a B550 motherboard. You got the Ryzen, Ryzen 5 or 7 5800X, somewhere in there. I'm just throwing it out there. This is an example. Okay. And you got, let's say, you got a GTX 1070. Okay. So you got the 5800X with the 1070. You got 32 gigs of RAM at CL 3200 megahertz or 3200 megahertz CL16. And it's DDR4. Okay, so what can you do to make this better? Well, first, your processor's fine. Your motherboard's fine. So those are 2 you don't have to mess with. Okay, now looking at your drive, you got, let's say, you got a PCIe 3.0 X4, and your motherboard can take the PCIe 4.0 X4. Okay, that's one you can change. You can get a new drive that does PCIe 4.0 X4 and plug it into the slot, and then you can take and your old one, and you could probably, what I would do is I would take and duplicate it to the 4.0 X4. So basically you take your 3.0 X4, you take it to and copy it, make a duplicate copy right to your 4.0 X4. And then after you get done doing that, then you dedicate that to be your main drive. And then you take your 3.0 X4 and then you format it. So once you dedicate once you restart your system, you go into the BIOS and you dedicate the PCIe 4.0 X4 as your main drive. And that way when Windows boots up, then it'll boot up to that drive, not to the 3.0 drive. It'll boot up to the 4.0 drive. So then you take your 3.0 drive and then you format your 3.0 drive, and then you got a fresh brand new drive to start out with a PCIe 3.0. You can use that to save your games and everything else. Say your B550 motherboard takes both the 3.0 and the 4.0. So you got your operating system on the 4.0, and then you got your 3.0 to save your games. So you're good there. So that's the first upgrade you can do. Now, the second upgrade, that you can do is, let's say you want to take your RAM, you got 32 gigs of RAM, but you want to make it better. Well, say you take it up to, let's say 4,000 megahertz, CL18, something there, and you get 64 gigs, and you plug that in. And then you set it manually in your BIOS to go up to the 4,000, which would be 2,000 on your F clock. So you set your F clock at 2,000. You set your mem clock at 4,000. So now you manually set in your max of your memory. So now you got, instead of running at 3,200 megahertz, now you're running at 4,000 megahertz. So now you're running even more faster. You upgraded your hard drive to run a little bit faster. Because of the speeds and everything else from the drive. Then you took and upgraded your RAM to get even more speeds. So now that's pretty much the whole battle right there. Now your processor is going to run more efficient. It's going to run to its max and give you everything you need. Now, let's say with that 1070 graphics card, you want to upgrade it to, truthfully, if you're going to upgrade it, I wouldn't go back 2 generations. I would try to stay within the newest generation or going forward. So a system like that, you have an option to run an RX 79 RX 7900 XTX, RX 7900 XT, a 7600, I would imagine. Or that's just on the AMD side. Or, you can run a 6900 or a 6950 XT. I would prefer, if something like that, I would run a 6950 XT. Okay, with that kind of system, and you're going from, a 1070 up to the 6950 XT. That's a big jump. But there comes a price tag with it. So, that's between $625 and $650. That's if you want to stay on the AMD side. Now, if you go to the nvidia side, you can, if you want to stay in the newest form or the oldest form, best to go up to, let's say, a 3080, or that's in, the gen before. Now, the recent gen, if you go into the 40 series, myself, I don't recommend the 4060 Ti or the 4060, because I think they're okay if you're just starting out and, you're just starting on the platform and you're learning how to build and you want to start there. That's okay for that. But when it comes to the matter of, you've been doing this a while, but you want to do a next upgrade, but you don't want to spend a lot. You don't want to spend $800, $900, $1,600 for a graphics card. You can always wait for a sale to see if the prices are going to come down. Or if you just want to get it now, I even stayed in the middle lane myself to a medium kind build, to where I use the Asus Dual RTX 4070. I figure that's right in the middle. It's a two fan configuration. Okay, it's got one 8-pin plug, the normal ones you find on your power supply. So you don't have to convert your power supply over. You don't have to convert your old case over. You don't have to, it's just plug and play. To me, that's what happened with me. It was just plug and play. So that's the reason why I stayed right there at the 4070, because I heard that they're going to have an 8-pin plug on it and it's going to meet with the power supply I have. But, when you go up to like the 4080 or the 4090, you're going to need at least 1,000 to 1,600 watts. Okay. But even though that you got that, then you still got issues with the 4090 to where the plugs are still burning and melting. They still got that problem. It hasn't been resolved just yet. And the 4080 is not too bad, but it keeps up with the 7900 XT. Now, they just come out with the 7900 GRE, but that's in China only. So far. As far as I know, as far as I can see, they released it over there in China. But the way they're doing the benchmarking on that, they're trying to compare it to the RTX 4070. And I'm sitting there thinking about it. Well, why are they considering a 7900 card? Because they get the 7900 XT, the 7900 XTX. If it's the same GPU die, why are they putting it against the RTX 4070? That's a question. Why aren't they putting it against the 4070 Ti? That's another question. I mean, if they want to compare apples to apples, I think they should have put it against the 4070 Ti. But you know what? They don't want to show that for the simple fact. They don't want to show that and show that to you for the simple fact that the 7900 GRE will get stomped on by the 4070 Ti. They really don't want to show you that. So they put you down to the last one to show and try to make the last one look really bad, since everybody's starting to like the last one. Since everybody's starting to like the 4070, and they're starting to see it's right there in the middle, and it separates itself away from the 4060 Ti and the 4060, and it separates itself from the 4070 Ti and up. It stays right in its middle lane. So they figured they would throw the GRE in there to show that, the improvements and everything else. They showed it on their motherboard, their processor, their RAM, their SSD, their products. It doesn't show what's on your product. Do remember that. It could show a whole different ballgame on yours if you decide to ever get something like that. And you go to test it, and you're like, oh, hell. The 4070 is running faster than the GRE on my equipment. How is that possible? So remember, everybody's test methods are not the same. Okay, just because some people do one test method doesn't mean it's the same. That's why you get different reviewers out here that do different method of testing. So you put it all together in a package and you see what's going on. So when you go to choose your GPU, you know exactly what to choose from. So you take within 5 to 7 reviewers, and they show you 5 and 7 different FPS marks. They show you the temperatures, they show you the wattage pull and everything else. The only thing that I seen with the 4070 that come out of all the reviewers was the same amount of watts. The same amount of power draw comes from the GPU. The same amount of power draw. But the results are all different across the board when it comes to, the games. That's because everyone uses a different type motherboard. Everyone uses a different type processor, but when it comes to you wanting to save money and, try to get yourself in that ballpark, the 4070 will operate off of the Zen 3. the 5000 series, just fine. You're not leaving performance on the table, trust me. So as you go up and you're on a B550 motherboard, you go up in processors, that's just more you're adding to your system. So let's say you jump from a 5600X and you jump all the way up to a 5900X on the same motherboard. What changes? The processor. Nothing else changes. So you're saving yourself money if you want to go up in performance. CPU will give you partial your performance. So moving from a 5600X to move up to a 5900X, that's not too bad. Let's say, like I said, running from a 1070 and you go up to a 4070. That's a big jump. But with that big jump, believe it or not, you get better performance. So, there's that right there when it comes to your GPU. You move up in scale, but if you decide to stay back a gen before, then you're missing out on, you're leaving performance on the table. You're not staying up to date with all the drivers. You're not staying up with the AAA gaming. You're leaving a bunch of stuff on the table. They say, well, you could use the 6000 series. You could use the 30 series, 6000 series for AMD, 30 series for nvidia, and you'll still be fine. Yeah, but you're still leaving performance on the table. You're leaving all the benefits of the 7000 series and all the benefits of the 40 series just to go back because of price. I know it sucks to say that, but like I said, if you're going to buy a GPU that's going to last you 5 years, then you're best off to get one that's going to last you 5 years. Instead of worrying about what's going to be the next best thing, you can always jump up a couple generations with the same one you got. And then after that, go get you the next best thing. So it's like hop, skip, and a jump. Get yourself the best you can get, and then wait a couple generations, and then the prices will come down on that next new generation, and price will come down, and then you can hop, skip, and a jump. Keep jumping up. So 15 years, you can go through at least 2 to 3 GPUs in 15 years. Okay, so on the collector's side and the enthusiast side, that's going to be a different story because they want to collect every new GPU that comes out on the market. Or they want to collect every motherboard that comes out on the market. Okay, that's different from with you first time building, wanting to get to the best. Or you got a system and you want to upgrade it, you want to know what to do. So it all depends on your finances, because I know inflation's out there and I know it's biting on everybody's heels. And I know it's hard to find PC parts that are within a reasonable range. And I know it's difficult to get used because you never know if it's broken. I know the feeling of that. And what would make eBay a little bit better, and eBay, listen up, what would make you better is if you intake the product, test it yourself, and then send it out to the consumer. And don't forget your drink and your snacks. Now, if eBay had a product control to where they can test the product to make sure it's working and then send it out to the consumer that's buying, then that's a different story. Then they have their hand in there to make sure that the product that you're getting is worth getting, other than getting somebody's e-waste. So that's a whole different topic for a different story. So, but this is my conclusion to you. I know this is going to be a little bit long video, but not much. This is my conclusion. 1, If you got a good motherboard, you got one, you got a good motherboard. Two, you got a good processor, and you got, it running just perfectly, but you want to upgrade the speed. So upgrade your RAM, upgrade your hard drive, your SSD. Okay. And if you don't have enough power to power it all, then maybe you want to think about moving up to a bigger power supply. Maybe. I haven't moved up to I'm still using the same power supply when I first got my system. Long time ago. Same power supply. With the RTX 4070, I'm still using the same power supply. It's still drawing the same amount of power, and it's 750 watts, and it'll surge up to 900 from what it says on the package. Boom, I'm done. That's it. So I changed from going from an integrated graphics to a discrete graphics card, which is the 4070. I upgraded mine. I still got the same case. I upgraded mine by changing out the motherboard from B450 to B550. I changed the processor going from the 5600G up to the 5700X. But I'm still using the same CPU cooler. The heatsink cooler. I'm still using the same one. Now the RAM, I went from 16 gigabytes. I went from 16 gigabytes, which is here. 16 gigabytes, and I went up to 64 gigs. But I'm still running it at the same frequency, 3200 megahertz. CL16. Seems to be my sweet spot. I seem to like it right there, so it runs fine. So right there, all in all, $1,000 system, done. What cost the most? Graphics card. Graphics card, $600. But if you get it on sale, and then you get rebates back for the amount of money you spend on Amazon, your graphics card gets cut down to going from $600 down to almost close to about $450, $475, somewhere in there. So now that you move down that price bracket by getting all those rebates and all that guarantees back and everything else, now that you moved it down to a $400, just $400 thing. So now you look at your $400 graphics cards compared to what you got now, and guess what? Boom. You got something that's 50 to 60% faster than one of them $400 graphics cards. So think about it like that. Do your shopping very carefully, and you will be fine. You can get whatever part you want. So keep that in mind. I'm just giving you that incentive that when you go to buy off of these websites, make sure that you get some kind of rebate deals with these. Okay, because Amazon's got, you spend a certain amount, you get a certain amount back. So basically, if you took each price of each, and you priced out each part, and it comes to a total. But when you buy it from Amazon, you get a lower total. So you take that and minus that and divide it up amongst how many parts you got, and then you come up with their total. So, it's checks and balances. So that's how I kind of figured out my PC, even though that I know my PC, the way it is right now, if you were to buy it back about a year ago, it would cost you $1,500 to $1,700. Just the way it is right now. So I got mine for $1,000, maybe less, for all the rebates and everything else that I got back. So basically it costs way less. So keep that in mind. That's just to give you a helpful hint when you go and buy from companies, to make sure you get some kind of discounted deals. Or you can go to certain places and get open box deals, and make the price even lower. You can probably find open boxes on the RTX 4070 and get it down to about $500 or $400. And guess what? It's cheaper than the 4060 Ti. And you're getting 27% more performance. Keep that in mind too when you go to shop. Always keep that in mind when you go look for open box deals and everything else. But anyway, that's my take on it. You go and shop, use your head and shop carefully. And that's my 5 best things I can tell you. Hopefully I got all 5 in there, but if I didn't, just let me know in the comments below. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. And also, too, make sure you put a thumbs up on the video. Let everybody know that video is awesome. It would help because then YouTube would put our videos out there. So, but anyway, thank you for all the new subscribers that joined the channel. Welcome to the family. Welcome to JJ's PC Builds. And my veteran subscribers, as always, much love to you. And we do appreciate all that you do. But until the next time and the next video, this is JJ on JJ's PC Builds. We will see you on the next one.